Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 223rd edition of Cinema Effect. Man, I'm Zach, and I'm, of course, joined by the qualified draftsman, Jaden.
Yo. Yeah, sorry, I don't know. I'm very tired today. It's probably not a good one to do without Liam because I am fucked.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you work last night?
No, I don't know. Dude, I feel I've been going to bed earlier, right? And it's honestly, it's worse.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you in like a transitionary phase though? You know, where you got to
I'm
push
trying.
through?
Yeah, I'm trying.
I appreciate the effort. Okay, that's all
You can
right.
only degen for so long, you know.
Yeah, I apologize that I just gave you dead silence after you answered because I was trying to I was really letting it hang, for you. All right, well, we'll see how we go. We also saw this movie on Tuesday now, so it's like, oh, memory, you know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. This week, the movie we're reviewing, I have rehearsed this many times, is Joker, Folie. Yeah? I got it?
Mate, you're getting no applause from me. It's fucking simple enough. You should be able to say it by now.
I don't disagree with you, but I just definitely want confirmation that I got it right.
It's like, dude, every time you say it, it's fucking good enough. I don't know, man.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, that's all I need, because I literally couldn't say it for like months when we were leading up to this. But okay, that's good.
Bro, just look at the words.
Dude, the do part, like what the fuck? Now, I get it now with the whole do gag. That's what really made it sink in. That's what really got it for me. Oh, I get it now. Folie do. Yeah, the movies do. In the US, October 4th, 2024. It was directed by Todd Phillips. Get this, right? Genre. It's a psychological thriller. It's a prison drama. It's a jukebox musical. What a combination right there of genre. Incredible.
Mm.
The synopsis says, struggling with his dual identity, failed comedian Arthur Fleck meets the love of his life, Harley Quinn, while incarcerated at Arkham State Hospital. Jaden, sound off. Go for it.
I think this movie was no better or no worse than the first one. And I say that honestly. I think it's got the same strengths, the same weaknesses.
Okay.
I think whoever colored this movie should never be out of work. They've done fantastic. Huh?
Oh, never be out of work. Oh my god. Oh my god. Sorry. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. The music's phenomenal again, and I think the general plot beats are strong enough as in the first one. But I think the dialogue is just pretty poor. I think it just reads pretty poor, and I think the acting is pretty average. Look, I know this guy won an Oscar for it, but like, it's just, I don't know. It just feels directed in the wrong way and like too over the top, and for what it is, and like, it's like this is probably going to lose me a lot of credibility. Not that I have much, but there's an iconic Family Guy scene where Peter criticizes The Godfather using a certain phrase. And it doesn't make sense, but it is also the perfect way to describe, honestly, The Godfather, but also these two movies, in that the films insist upon themselves. They just insist upon themselves. They push you to think that they're good. Into believing they're better than what they are, and like, you're like, oh yeah, no, they are good because they do this and this, but then you're like, hold on, but that's just because it's kind of insisting that it's good, It's like, I don't know. It's a weird thing, but like it is what it is, Like, I don't know, but yeah, that's how I feel about it. It's in the same ballpark as the first one, which to me, as a in terms of making a sequel, that's about as good as you get.
Okay, all right. So, but did you go in? I don't know how much of the reviews and shit you had seen. Did you have low expectations? How did it compared to your expectations, whatever they were?
Better than my expectations because everything I'd seen was like obviously like the one end of like the horrendous kind of
Right.
side of it. Of it's
Yeah.
a mess, which it is to be fair, but like the real negative shit. So I was like expecting like something that's unwatchable. But no, it was fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm pretty close to you. I didn't think it was bad. It's perfectly watchable. Walking out, I said I didn't mind it, and that's pretty accurate to still how I feel. I wasn't bored. I think you said you were bored at points.
Yeah, I was like there was many. I don't know if it's the thing with sitting close to the screen, but there was many times where I caught myself just staring into the fucking top left corner, and then I'd be like, oh wait, no, I need to look at the whole thing. So like, yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. What's going on up there? Hang on, do you mean the top left corner of the frame or of like the fucking building?
of the frame. Yeah.
Okay. Just looking up there and like, oh,
No, I'm not just looking at the
interesting.
fucking eaves and be like, oh yeah, the
The
molding up there's
architecture.
interesting.
Yeah, I thought your architecture mind might have done that. Okay, yeah, but yeah, no. So I didn't mind it, but this movie definitely didn't grab me nearly as much as the first one. I probably, I don't know. The common consensus out there is weird, and definitely from what I had I tried to stay away from it, but I had heard negative stuff beforehand as well, and from that seems to be. I don't really agree with how strongly that seemed to come across, but at the same time, I probably do have the more common perspective than you, Jane, just because I really liked the first one, and I think a lot of the negativity comes from people who like really like the first one and then see this as a letdown or a disappointment. So I guess I'm closer to that. In that I definitely didn't connect with this nearly as well as the first one. That one, I don't know. That one just at the time really pulled me in
Because you were an
to
incel at the time.
naturally, yeah. But I'm I'm reformed now. But I know that one really pulled me into like Arthur's journey and his progression as a character, all the stuff he goes through, and the way it builds to that awesome Murray Franklin murder at the end was really uncomfortable to watch. It had this sense of danger in the cinema when I watched it for me, and that was really like I felt everyone felt it in that cinema. It was pretty awesome at that time. Made everyone uncomfortable. You could feel it in the room. So I love that about the first one, and I just think that's pretty much entirely gone from this one. Um, which is I don't know if it was the musical stuff that does that or I don't know. Yeah, why? So then, when you get to this one, we'll talk about the performances and stuff. But when you brought that up quickly, it's like because that sort of sense of I don't know danger, that building tension, that rising tension that the first one had for me, because it's kind of gone from this one. When you get scenes where Arthur Fleck, Joaquin Phoenix is just doing his shtick, where he's doing his manic laughing and stuff, it just kind of doesn't. It's not. I'm not criticizing like the technicality of the performance, but it just doesn't. It kind of feels self conscious to me this time, or I felt self conscious watching it anyway. Where I felt like I was consciously watching someone who knew he won an Oscar trying to do it again, like kind of thing, as opposed to like actually being invested in the narrative. So it kind of had this weird feeling about it sometimes, like that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I also I'm looking forward to breaking down like what I think the themes of the film are because I don't know if they work entirely.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd. It's kind of odd. I know we were talking about some of that when we came out a little bit.
But yeah, it's just the other thing I forgot to mention in my kind of intro was that I think the strongest that what this film does do is that it takes the strongest part of the first one and kind of shits on it, which
Yep.
I don't know how I feel about that because I was saying that it kind of gets rid of the motif of the in the head sequence, but then you said no, it's the same in the head sequence. It's just that it's a musical now, so like it keeps
That's
the
how
whole
I feel. Yeah.
it keeps the whole in the head thing, but then it's just on the fact that like on the ambiguity of the first one and how much of it actually did happen in his head. So like I don't know, like just in terms of reading themes and anything that you can read into those, I think it makes it a lot less fun in that like you're like I think it's a lot less fun to read into the themes of these in the head sequences because they're so over the top musical that you're meant to know they're in the head. Whereas like the ambiguity is what worked for the first one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Right from the start, when they start establishing and start drip feeding you these facts about like definitive series of events that the first one took place that happened in the first one. It starts answering the stuff that you sort of left the first one that was a bit ambiguous. In terms of like they pretty early tell you how many people he killed, which then raised the question of we were talking about, raised the question of the doctor at the end of the first one that he killed. But like it seems that this film picks a canon where he didn't do that. So it's kind of an odd choice. I was expecting the film to continue along those lines of the first one, where you sort of, if you imagine where the first one ends, where like, sure, I knew he was going to be in prison and shit, but you sort of continue it where it's like there's more fantasy sequences, there's more shit where it's like, did he do that or did he not? And it just, you just sort of just carry on basically as a part two, but it keeps elements of the ambiguity and then still ends in a place where you can still, like the whole arc of the two movies, you can still look at different parts and not know what happened. Instead, it had this feeling, unfortunately, of like, definitely like there was, I mean, which I know is true. It very much felt like they made that first movie, then decided they want to make a second one, and then to make the second one, they needed to like, okay, well, what's the story? Oh, okay, well, to tell the story, we need to start deciding what happened in the first one, and it's kind of like that's kind of lame in my opinion. So that disappointed me a bit as well.
Yeah.
It especially felt odd to me when, it felt like. It felt even more like they only created that ambiguous ending to the first one to copy Scorsese and the King of Comedy.
How did that end? Doesn't that end with De Niro like delivering his monologue and then?
Yeah, and of him becoming like a big TV star.
Does it?
Yeah, but it's an ambiguous ending too. It doesn't really. It's kind of unclear if that's. I can't remember if it's. Yeah, it's been a minute. I can't remember if it's unclear. Something's unclear about it. I can't remember if it's unclear if like he actually does become a star and that's in his head.
Yeah.
Or if I think that's it. Or it might be if he. No, he definitely killed Jerry in that movie.
Did he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Oh shit! Actually, maybe that's. Oh god, someone. Liam will probably know. I wish Liam was here. There was ambiguity to the ending 100%. And when we watched that at the time, I remember thinking, oh wow, Joker really just took that as well from the King of Comedy in terms of the idea of having that kind of ending for the main character. So now it just sort of comes across like when they did that in the first movie, the fact they couldn't even follow up on it just sort of makes me feel like, oh, you only did that in the first movie to copy Scorsese, and then now when you're posed with doing a sequel, you just sort of backtrack it because you don't know what to do. Because Scorsese, guess what? Scorsese didn't make a King of Comedy sequel you can copy, kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know. It felt right off the bat, it felt a bit off in that respect. But it becomes clear the movie's doing this in the first 15 minutes, so you kind of just accept it for what it is as it keeps going, I suppose. When we walked out, the other main thing we were sort of talking about a little bit was the whole idea of I'm curious about how well we feel like and trying to evaluate how successfully this film explores its themes. The main theme of the film is like the notion of the two identities for Arthur, right? Joker versus him. Versus Arthur.
I don't know. I don't know if it is. Because
okay.
I think it's a real fault in the direction that I think it's a real trouble to tell if it's real or not. Like his whole double identity. Because obviously you have his first lawyer arguing that wholly, and then you have Harley arguing against it. But then like in terms of where Arthur ends up on his own kind of feeling of it, and where the audience is meant to end up like from Arthur's perspective of it, I think it's a bit unclear because like at the end of the trial he comes through and he says there is no Joker, it's all him. But then he continues to act in a way that suggests that like there is a part of him that wants to fight to kind of get out. I don't know, I guess because like he runs away from the trial, which doesn't make sense to me at all. Like from the monologue he delivered about there is no Joker, this is all me, and then to running away, that doesn't make sense. I guess maybe because he knows the death penalty's on the line.
I read that a little bit differently. Sorry, go on, finish your point. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I just feel like no, I just feel like we're left a bit in the grey because I don't think it's overly clear on where it's meant to land on that, and I think that's a fault on the direction, really.
Yeah, I think. I don't think you ran away from the trial per se. I sort of thought it was more. So I think the end result is that we can backtrack as well to some of the parts you mentioned, but just sticking at the end with where in the courtroom he basically just says the Joker isn't real. It was all me. I did it all, kind of thing. That's sort of
Yeah,
the side he chooses, and then the bomb goes off or whatever. He sort of wanders out, like sort of dazed and confused. Fair enough. And then he sort of just gets. I don't think he really runs away from the trial. He sort of gets just coerced into the vehicle by by his follower people,
sure,
by his
yeah,
fans, and then really he runs away from them
yeah, and
by
he
getting
runs
out of
through
the
Harley,
car.
yeah,
Yeah, so
Lee,
I think that's more. So I think the whole idea of the ending is that, and yeah, and then so he goes and meets Harley, and then like
yeah,
they have a chat, and then he's like he tells her that the fantasy was a lie, and that's kind of.
yeah,
I feel like the whole resolution for him is meant to be that he rejects the notion that he is. He rejects he is the Joker, literally, because he says that, but he rejects the idea that he is a killer, a criminal, a psychopath, all these things that all these other people like put him as. He rejects being the symbol of anarchy or of standing up to or the
sure,
thing that he sort of
yes,
becomes at the end
yes,
of the
yeah,
first movie. He rejects it, um, and then as a result, um, but he's created it nonetheless. And then skipping right to the end, which we'll talk about as well, when he gets killed by the other guy, he sort of takes on the symbol. It's sort of the symbols become this. He's created the Joker symbol. He rejects the Joker symbol. He doesn't feel that's who he truly is. But then it's created. It's out there. Everyone else is going to follow it, kind of thing. So if anything, it's kind of I guess a kind of a pro. He creates the idea of the Joker in Gotham,
mm,
sort of accidentally,
mm,
but he doesn't. It's not really who he is, and he dislikes that, and he sort of goes out his own person without embracing it. Which is
yes,
when I think about it that way, it's interesting. I just don't really know. And first of all, do you agree with that?
yeah, no, I do, yes,
Okay. So then I go back and I just kind of I don't know. I think that when you're breaking down the story, I think that's cool, but I don't know if the film really built that very well.
yeah, no,
I don't know how earned that was, really, just because, like you mentioned, the idea comes up from his defense attorney, sort of drilling it into him as a sound legal argument. Like, I don't know, he clearly killed Murray Franklin live on TV, so yeah, he's got no other argument, right?
yeah.
So it makes sense that makes perfect sense. That's why I almost didn't even.
But
Yeah,
where I come with from where I'm coming from the misclarity on it is that he rejects Joker so wholly that it almost feels like he is pursuing that whole DID kind of angle of like he's saying it is only me, but then he's like in his delivery of it's only me, and in his telling of Harley that it is only me, and like this isn't what I am. It feels like it almost does confirm that it is a split personality.
because of his delivery.
Yes,
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. I
which
think
actually which is probably a strength, like
I
because
think that's who
I don't
he
know,
is, though.
yeah,
Like he is unwell. Like he is, you know what I mean? Like
because
so
he's
much of
off.
what we so much of what we understand as part of the Joker with the laugh and so much of what we understand that character to be in this world is meant to come from him,
Sure.
and just who he is as Arthur is just a dude, you know. So they are so infused, but sorry. I guess what I was saying about the lawyer was just that I almost wrote off her point in terms of her bringing up the two personalities as a defense.
Mm,
I almost just wrote it off as like not being thematically connected to the film because, like I said, like he clearly killed Murray. So, of course, okay, this is a courtroom drama now. Okay, that's what the defense would be legally because you got no other fucking defense really. So I almost sort of wrote it off as like, oh well, they can't be themes for the movie. And
mm,
and 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 then the only other time I really felt like I know he does the TV interview with that actor I recognized. I don't know. Did you recognize him as well?
Yeah, Steve Coogan.
I don't know his
Steve?
name.
Alan?
Yeah,
Steve?
Alan, Stu.
I
Yeah,
think it's Steve Coogan. Yeah.
he rang a bell. Um, um, yeah, I know there was that, and like they were sort of like pushing him of like, are you Arthur or are you the Joker or whatever?
Yeah,
But
and you see, there's
yeah,
in that scene, there's a shot where like that very much that honestly feels like it's confirming the multiple personality thing, because there's a shot where it kind of swings low on Arthur, and because the light behind it like has like two red and blue like dots like coming from the light that like hover in front of him as if like it's like the Joker trying to fight to come out. And like so like in terms of that side of the filmmaking, it seems to suggest that it is a multiple personality thing.
right.
And then that's why I don't know.
I agree. I
And
think
the whole opening
yeah.
animation about me and my shadow,
Yes,
like it's so literal, and I was like, oh, this is dumb because it's like it spells it out way too fucking clearly. But then I'm like, well, does it? Because it's like,
well, they become
seems to
one at
reject
the
that idea.
end.
Yeah, oh, he does. Yeah, yes, he does go back. No, doesn't.
Don't they?
Doesn't the shadow fuck off?
Does it fuck off?
Yeah, because he dresses Joker up and then he pushes him away, right?
I don't, I don't remember.
So I like I don't know.
I mean, whatever. Okay, well, looking back on that sequence is clearly like I can only assume it's trying to reflect the themes of the movie, like what the
Yeah.
So in that, yeah, I guess it would fuck off. That makes more sense. Yeah. Because if the shadows, this is obviously a bit confused because in the animation he is Joker.
Yes.
And the shadow is the shadow, but in the film it's like the shadow is Joker and Arthur is so it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird, but yeah,
but then that works well to prove that not prove, but it shows that he did have a multiple personality. But then, like through the kind of shock of the trial and like this kind of whole process of like,
right,
maybe he's like kind of come out of it, or like. So like it does work. Like he did have DID at the time of committing the murders, but like through this, he's like realized it somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's possible. I just don't. Do you feel like anywhere else the film sort of communicated like which one is it? Is he? Is he? Is he rejecting Joker in that he acknowledges that Joker was an alternate personality that he's casting aside? Or was he never Joker? You know, like I don't think the film really makes clear what that is.
Yeah, and that is where my issue that I first brought up. Like that is what it actually is, not that it's unclear on that side. It's that side of it. Yeah.
And the problem is that the film just doesn't do a very good job, in my opinion, of throughout communicating like getting to that endpoint of like what Arthur's internal struggle is, what he's weighing up in his own mind. I don't know. I don't think the music sequences did a good job. If anything, you'd think, okay, well, maybe they're designed to show some insight into this in some way. And unless I don't know, like totally missing the point, I don't think they really achieved that at all. If anything, they were more of a reflection of like they were a reflection of the fantasy of like the Joker identity. And Harley's infatuation with it, and the positives of, and I guess the allure of embracing it potentially. But by the time he gets to the end and rejects Joker, I just have no understanding of like we're talking about. I have no understanding if it's an acknowledgement that Joker did exist or not, or if it's even throughout of of like what it took for him to get to this point. You know. I don't know. Are there any scenes you can think? I can't think of it. Are there any scenes at all you can think of where it's like, oh, I can see there, something happened there that would make him want to reject Joker, or that would start leading him in a direction like that?
No,
because as far as I'm concerned, it's like everyone around him talks about it, the idea of the two personalities. Everyone's yapping about it. And he seems to have zero reaction to it, as far as I can tell. And then at the end, he makes the decision. And it's like, okay, cool, but like, what? It's kind of how I end up feeling.
Mm.
I don't know. I'd like to think that there's more I missed and shit, but that's just kind of how I feel right now. Is that it feels kind of a little bit hollow, I guess. What did you think of that opening animated sequence though? While we brought it up,
Well, pretty much what I said. I think it was cute and it was cool, but it was a bit too literal. In showing the whole man martial it's too on the nose, and I feel like he doesn't trust his audience to pick up any more subtlety than that. Which, I mean, maybe he's right if we can't fucking pick up on some other stuff that we're looking for at the moment.
possibly, yeah.
But yeah, I think it was a cool way
yeah.
to open the film, though. Like, I think yeah.
Same here. I was not. Did you know about it? I was not expecting it at all. I thought it was really for that. I just thought it was really cute and really cool for them to do it because it was really well animated and everything. I liked it for that. But yeah, I don't know. Like in terms of the scenes we do get in this movie, like, I just felt like instead of getting maybe some more interesting scenes where we're trying to, like what we're talking about that's missing of like understanding Arthur's arc a bit more in terms of his thought process, I feel like we just get, I don't know, a lot of similar scenes in this movie. Like they're all well done, in my opinion, but they're still like, I don't know, like how many scenes can we get where like the prisoners, start singing "Oh, when the Saints" and then they start beating up on them? I feel like we get it 3 times, I don't know. And I like a lot of the different elements of it, but I think that's for me where the boredom started. Is like, oh yeah.
I also think a lot of the musical sequences are samey. I think it goes back to the thing about you saying like they don't reveal much, and I think you're right. And like they might change the setting and the stage that they're singing in, but like they're all of the same kind of genre. And I think it's what one of our mates said walking out about like how it doesn't lean into it heavily enough. It doesn't really trust its audience to go fully with it, so it just kind of puts the musical elements on the stage rather than breaking full into a musical. And I think that kind of harms it in that it doesn't. They're too consistent, and it kind of takes away from the, I don't know, cool things you could have done with the music.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like I'm trying to even think what the I don't think this is the actual first one, or the first one I guess is when they attempt to escape Arkham, right? And they get out there and they start climbing the gate. They do some singing throughout that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the first one, but yeah, it's one of the early ones.
Yeah, the only other early one I can think of right now is where they're on the rooftop and it says Arkham Hotel or whatever.
Yeah,
like that. If you look at that one, right? Okay, that makes sense. Like Joker's sort of falling in love with Harley. It's like, oh wow, look at it. Someone cares about me, and wow, this is so great. And they have like the one sort of romantic one, the one sort of like really positive. Like, look at their, just shining a light on how his positivity and his optimism about what's going on with and the relationship with her and stuff. Okay, that makes sense to where that one's placed. But then I feel like there's kind of 3 more like it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like they should be progressing. Like to Henry's point, like he said when we came out, it's like they should be progressing and they should be leaning harder into doing more stuff in them, like violence and because other than that, like they're sort of all the same. You get the one on the talk show, you get the one like in the jazz club. I think there's one where they're having a wedding or something. There's a wedding one, I think, a chapel, if I recall. Jesus, I didn't make that up. I might have. That's what happens when you see the movie 4 days ago, everyone. But regardless, that they all feel very samey, like you said. With the only real, at least for me, the only real sort of moment of drama in them was that one right at the end where Harley shot him.
Yeah.
When she did that, my attention snapped in because I'm like, oh shit, something happened to one of these. Like that's interesting. Like that I can read into. That's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, otherwise, they're all kind of just the same.
But then again, like it's just but it like something does happen, but then it's just a representation of what happened in the real life scene a couple seconds ago of that she's like fucking off from him,
Yeah, but she does do it. It happens earlier.
Oh, does it happen earlier?
Yeah. So she shoots him earlier. I want to say like halfway through the movie, maybe somewhere around there in the movie that happens, and then we kind of don't know what it means. Yeah, and then we kind of don't know what it means, and then it gets back to the point where in the movie you're talking about where it represents like it reflects the real life thing, and they cut back to it and do it and like make it clear that that was what that was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when they did it earlier, that was cool because it adds a bit of intrigue. Like,
Sure.
the fuck's that about, kind of thing. So like, I appreciated that. I just wanted more of that. Like make some more connections throughout of like representing real life and leaving me hanging on a couple of cliffhangers and like trying to figure it out. Because that was sort of the only moment where that really happened, in my opinion. Unfortunately, yeah. I did like I don't know, just in terms of the music themselves, though. Like, I don't know. Did you find any value in them?
Well, apparently Nick Cave did the opening one.
Really?
Yeah, the song that plays over the animation. Apparently, like I was on Spotify yesterday. I was listening to like my new releases. And it's like Nick Cave, Joker, Folie. I was like, what the fuck? I was like,
that's awesome.
What's going on here? And yeah, like it's like that whole like kind of, you know, like when like the Shadow and then the Joker is singing like on the talk show, like Nick Cave does that.
Gotcha. That's really cool.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Outside of I did. I mean, everyone knows my take on musicals. I didn't have my usual take on them in this movie because it's sort of already. I think you said it, or I said I don't know, but it sort of already fits with the storytelling language, in my opinion, of the first movie, where we have these sort of fanciful dream sequences where you don't know what's real and what's not. Like, so then them inserting them into this world feels totally normal for me. It works.
I think it doesn't like because you said this the other night as well, and I think because you were saying it because I said something and then you said that in disagreement, but I think you kind of. I think I disagree with why you disagreed.
Okay.
I don't think that it is an established language because I think the fanciful sequences in the first one you can't really tell. There's no clear indicator that they are in his head. There's no shift in lighting. Or there's a shift in lighting sometimes, but like then there'll be a scene later that's the exact same but is meant to be real. There's no change in costume. There's no fanciful set. There's no lens. There's nothing that kind of establishes something that this is in the head. So I disagree that it's a continued visual language because it makes it like super clear as to what it is, and I think that just comes back to the fact that like
you're right.
I think a lot of it goes back to the fact that they didn't think of making a second one when they're making the first one. So like because even something we were talking about before, I can't recall what it was now, but I was thinking that same thing. But like when you mentioned something, I was like, well, it's because they didn't think about making this one back then.
You can say that for a lot of things in this.
But yeah, no, I disagree with the established visual language aspect.
Yeah, you're right about the visual language. You're right, but I guess like the narrative language or like the script language. I guess like in terms of just the notion of having fantasy sequences that are in Arthur's head is very established in the first one. In terms of like in the first one, there's that whole bit where like he imagines himself being on before he actually is on Murray Franklin, or is he? But you know, there was that bit where like earlier in the first one where he imagines being on Arthur Franklin, and it's totally made up. So the idea of that, it's established in the storytelling that he imagines shit in his head.
Sure.
So the idea of then him meeting Harley and then imagining them singing together is consistent to me with like what you could see him imagining, I guess.
Okay.
But you're right, like the visual language is different, and obviously they never sing in the first one, so that's obviously different too. His fantasies didn't involve that in the first one, I guess. But yeah, in terms of I don't know, I mean, I don't know. I said my piece mainly, but I did like the Jazz Club one. Like as a song, I thought it was kind of had a bit of. It was the only one where I'm sort of like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. It's kind of groovy.
Which one was the Jazz Club one? Honestly,
no, it's the one where he started tap dancing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is kind of a vibe, you know. Sure. The others were kind of like whatever. I don't know anything about like who wrote these songs other than what you just pointed out about Nick Cave in the first one. Like I didn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, to be honest.
I don't know if Lady Gaga did some or something.
Well, I know she released an album that was like adjacent to the film.
Oh, really? Okay.
But like I think it was all her own original music, like not for the film. I think it was just like meant to be like because it's called Harlequin. but like I think it's like kind of musings that she had while playing the character, something like that.
Right. Okay.
All the credits on this are for Joaquin and Lady Gaga on this soundtrack.
Because they sing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of Lady Gaga as Harley, how did you feel about the character, her performance, anything like that, and just her use in the story?
Well, this kind of brings up
Yeah.
one of like my big things that I'm not sure how to articulate and how to feel, because I don't want to come across as an elitist, and I don't want to come across as being against it, and I don't want to come across as being completely for it, because I am somewhere in the middle, and I don't know how to articulate being in the middle without sounding. I don't know how to articulate it without sounding like I'm on one extremity. I think Gaga's Harley Quinn is like the perfect example of that. This is just hijacking an IP and putting names to it so that you can watch it and like it, and as a result, you think the product is better than what it is. I don't have an issue with telling, adverse comic book stories and adapting them in interesting ways, but I think I have an issue with the way that this is adapted, in that if you strip the name Joker, Gotham, Thomas Wayne, Harley Quinn from these movies, if you take those away, they become incredibly plain. So like, I really do think that this just hijacks an established kind of character and world, and I think this version of Harley Quinn is a perfect example, because like she's nothing like, she's even less like Harley Quinn than what Joaquin is like Joker. There's nothing about her being a doctor. True. There's nothing about all her kind of origins from the animated show.
They tried to shoehorn in,
which is
that's their version of trying to do that. Yeah.
So like, I don't like it, I guess, but it's not. I don't like it's. It's not that I don't like it because of what it's done, although I don't like what it's done. It's just that, I don't like it because of what it's done. But I'm fine with I'm fine with doing. I'm fine with the practice of it. I'm not fine with how they have enacted it.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. It doesn't feel like they were, even less so in this one. I mean, the first one, the ending of the first one had this interesting effect, which sort of carries over a little bit, but of like, it feels like it has an impact on Gotham and this, like, and I never expected a sequel, but this idea that, like, you understand that at the end of the first one, the idea of the Joker was born, and then that has a huge impact sort of on Gotham, because we see Bruce Wayne as a kid, and it has these little connections that, in my opinion, at least in the first one, made it sort of still feel like having the DC label and using these characters was worthwhile. Like it did add to the overall impact of the story, in my opinion, in terms of like imagining how seeing the birth of this idea of Joker and then what that ends up becoming as we know it, kind of thing. That was still worthwhile to me in the first one. By the time, but even then, it sort of feels like Todd Phillips still didn't come across like he was like trying to make comic book movies or anything, And then by the time we get to this one, it really did just come across like, I like what you said about if you take it out, it's sort of plain, because it sort of does feel like he wasn't very interested in. Every time that they do a Batman connection, it feels like, oh god, we sort of have to do this, don't we? like for like the whole Harvey Dent thing, with like, first of all, Harvey Dent being in the movie, kind of just felt like, well, there's a lawyer, so we may as well just be Harvey Dent, right? Like,
yeah.
It sort of just feels like out of obligation, because like, oh, we acknowledge that this is Gotham City, so we kind of have to do it, like very minimal things here and there to just sort of prove that. And yeah, the bare minimum with Harley is kind of, to what you're saying, I think that's part of that as well. Not to mention, her character just felt kind of pointless to me in the end. Other than, if we go back to what we were saying, what the film's about, I get that she's represents, she's a Joker fan. She's not an Arthur fan. She doesn't really care about Arthur. she wants to embrace the fantasy and embrace the symbol of Joker and stand up to corruption or whatever the hell, stand up to, be a part of that rebellion in Gotham. And I get all that, but just on a pure character level, I didn't really understand her motive. Like, so I understand what she means thematically, but I didn't really understand her motivations as a character. Like, she checked herself into Arkham to meet Arthur because she wanted to meet the Joker. Why? Like, why does she? Why does she? Because they established that she was lying, to Arthur about being poor and having no parents and all that sort of shit. Which was interesting when they said that she was lying. It's like, oh, that's interesting. But like, why? I don't really get it. Like, why was she lying? What was she trying to achieve throughout the movie?
Yeah,
it's
and I don't know why she felt so strongly as to check herself in on the off chance of seeing Arthur. Like, yes. the whole driving thing doesn't make sense at all.
I agree. Yeah, like, again, you can say, oh, because she's a big Joker fan and she wants to be Joker, but yeah, but why?
But like, she doesn't. Why? Yeah, like, it doesn't make sense for her to be the Joker fan,
Yeah, no, they didn't make that clear. Like, even if we just had a scene where it's like, oh yeah, I lied about my upbringing because this and this, and I really feel this way, and it's like, okay, but we didn't get that at all. She lied, and then she just keeps doing what she's doing, and I'm just kind of like, okay. So I don't know, her character and the use of the character in the story kind of confused me. I didn't really understand what she was on about, especially when we spend a lot of time. I know you get that whole scene with her when she's putting on the makeup for like 2 minutes. And I'm like, okay, this is a fine scene, but I just don't really understand this character. Or like, what's going on with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just couldn't figure it out, I guess, why she became so obsessed.
I think the trial should have taken a lot more focus on the film. I don't think it should have spent as much time in the prison as it did. I think they should have gone harder on the courtroom side of this film. And I think the fact that when he had his chance to mount his defense, that he just fucking resigns or he says no defense or whatever. I think it's just really lazy, and I think it kind of shows that like they were never interested in telling a courtroom story. It was just another vehicle for the kind of plot. So, but then it's like, well, why spend as much time there as you did? So they're kind of in this like middle ground of like they spend too much time there to ignore being the courtroom side, but then they don't spend enough time there to like really for it to be anything like worthwhile. It's just another vehicle for him to like get out at the end, like, I guess. And to to introduce these characters of fucking Harvey Dent.
That's right,
and whatnot. So like, I'm kind of disappointed in that fact where I feel like had they been more into telling, the legal side of it, I think it could have been. I think you could have ended up with something a lot cooler. But you kind of end up with like a kind of half-assed trial sequence.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier, where like, I'm a sucker for court sequences. I'm into that shit. So like, when they started doing it, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm down, neat. But yeah, it goes back to what we were saying earlier, where it's like throughout, it doesn't really feel like it was justified. Like, it felt like really you could have. I mean, maybe some of the borderline, like, again, half-assed, where it's like the testimony from Zazie Beetz and the dwarf man. I probably can't say that. Little bit, the little dude. The testimony again playing into the idea of like, who is Arthur? Is he Joker? Whatever. Like, I get that, but yeah, half-assed, where it's kind of like, okay, I get you're trying, but I don't know, how does Arthur respond to that? And he's the one doing the questioning. I feel like I didn't really get any sense of how he felt about it.
Yeah, and the whole questioning was dumb. Like the whole foghorn leghorn kind of voice he puts on, and and he goes in this like kind of like joking type of thing, and I'm like, but like there is no value in it, and like I guess that in itself is like kind of the point in that like he shouldn't have fired his his lawyer, and that he really is like out of his depth now, and that like it shows like Harley Quinn's really bad for him and all that shit. Like I guess that's the point of it, but like they spend so long with him just fucking ridiculing, Gary Puddles, and I'm like, you could have spent this time better.
Yeah. You're right. Like, it is in this weird middle ground where it's like, even in this certain respect, where like even if they'd leaned into more the idea of like, he's representing himself in court, and it's kind of there's an element of danger to that of like, oh, he's unhinged, or what's he going to do next? He's unpredictable in court. like that could be its own sort of interesting tension to it, where it's like, what the fuck's he going to do in this courtroom kind of thing. Instead, he kind of did nothing but put on silly voices. You know. And by the way, is there any universe where that judge would let him represent himself? Like the second he let him do that, I'm like, really? That seems, I don't know, it seems far fetched to me. But maybe
I don't know the rules on that, but like, I don't know. I feel like you shouldn't be forced to work with a lawyer if you don't want a lawyer, right?
No. You have the right to represent yourself, but it's like maybe I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I am misunderstanding people's rights, but I don't know. To me, like with his condition and his behavior.
Well, if anything, he has two people to represent himself. So
yeah, right. Yeah, and him and his stupid shadow. Yeah. I don't know. I just thought because the judge clearly he made it. The film presented like he made a decision to allow it. You know.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. Maybe if I studied to become a judge, I'd get it more, but I didn't really get that.
Well, he said he consulted a precedent, and so like,
great.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder if that precedent that he mentions actually has like a relevant bearing on the story as like something that he took inspiration from.
Maybe. I really don't know. Did you know that Gotham was in New York?
No, maybe I don't know. I like Gotham's always meant to be a Manhattan like esque city, I guess.
Yeah,
but like I don't know whether it's meant to be like, especially in the Dark Knight, it's very Manhattan esque and like completely, or as Dark Knight Rises, I guess, where it kind of takes on the whole island.
Dark Knight Rises for sure. Batman Begins feels more like Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I knew it was meant to be New York. I'm not sure on how much of a replacement of New York City it's meant to be, I guess.
Yeah, it just threw me off because, like, in universe, it's acknowledged that Gotham is in New York State.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. That might already be part of Batman lore. I just didn't know. But like, it just kind of threw me off for a second because when they said the people of the state of New York versus Arthur Fleck, and they said that in the movie, and for a second I thought they made a mistake. Like, wait, hang on. Did no one catch that they're meant to be in Gotham? But no, Gotham's meant to be in New York. I just thought that was weird.
Well, this is probably like the least Gotham that we've seen.
As a city, yeah, we don't see a lot of it, really.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
I mean, even Dark Knight's Gotham kind of... Actually, yeah, well, Dark Knight's Gotham, we said, just feels like Chicago.
Yeah.
And then Dark Knight Rises for like the most boring Gotham we've got, probably. And then it's for like the second most boring.
How do you say anything that the Dark Knight Rises did is worse than this? Oh my god. Yeah. Okay. In terms of the actual though, the like the bomb going off and all that kind of shit. Like, were you surprised? Like, what do you think of that whole sequence of him coming out there?
Well, yeah, I thought it was dumb. I don't know. I thought we were finally building to an interesting point in the trial of him, like kind of finally rejecting the Joker, and then it's kind of all settled, and it's all kind of tainted by this bomb now. And I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I get that a little bit.
Maybe I don't really have an issue with it, but I feel like once again, because I was kind of hoping for more of the courtroom stuff. This just detracts from it more. So.
Yeah, I will say the one was my favorite part of the movie. Like the whole one shot they do was awesome.
Coming out of it, or
yeah, so from the moment the bomb goes off to then when he, the whole thing in the car, him getting in the car, driving, him getting out of the car, running, the guy getting hit by the police car, I think. And then him running sort of down the and it cuts then again with him running down the street. It's like a 4 to 5 minute one-up. It's pretty good. That was probably my favorite part of the movie because I just thought it was sick. I'm a sucker for that kind of shit, to be honest with you. You can make a shit movie and I'm still going to like that if you're able to pull that off. I listened to an interview with the cinematographer and so it's 4 shots blended together.
Yeah.
And the when Arthur's lying down in the vehicle and you sort of see what's going outside the window, when they're driving in the car, that's all volume out there.
It looked like it.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I didn't pick it.
Hold on, maybe not. Wait, hold on. Maybe I'm thinking of a different car sequence I watched.
Oh.
No, I think it was that. I think it was that where I felt it. Was I watched something
Okay.
else?
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm in
I
two minds
personally,
now.
you are like the volume detective at this point. You've got like a sense for it. I didn't pick it at all. But yeah, I thought the sequence was really cool. And then the cinematographer was describing how when they ran out of the car, when he comes out of the car and then he starts running on the street, how they had to they handed, it comes around where it starts behind him and then the camera comes around in front of Joaquin. And at some point in there, they hand the camera off to someone on a truck. And because the truck has to go fast enough for him to be running at it. So I just love all that shit. I love it.
Is that the Variety interview?
No, listen to a podcast.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to watch the Variety one where he's talking about like shooting, and I was like, don't really care.
But you said you like the colours.
Yeah, he's shooting it. He's not colouring it.
Oh no, the director of photography oversees all that.
To an extent.
No, he does for sure. He definitely was. He definitely does. Yeah. But I don't want to skip over the technical stuff because I totally agree with you that I think the film, the whole coloring and the cinematography and the vibe of the film carried perfectly from the first one. I think it's one of its biggest strengths for sure.
Yeah.
I think it just it feels very high quality, but very fitting for especially in the prison stuff. I found when you're in the prison, it felt very fitting.
Brendan Gleeson is in this film.
I was literally, if you didn't talk, that was the next thing I was going to say.
Yeah.
Did you know he was in it?
I think I did hear beforehand that he was in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He was. I was surprised he had an Irish accent. That was cool.
He delivered the only laugh of the movie as well.
What was it?
When he smacks Joaquin in the back of the head.
Oh yeah, that was nasty. Yeah. Yeah, he's very entertaining. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. Kind of. Yeah, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, with his character as well, I was kind of hoping it we'd see Arthur get Torres ending with him as well, maybe. But
right. Yeah, there was nothing there. There was nothing with that.
No, but he was good. I liked him.
Yeah, he was fun. I can't remember where exactly it was. He had one line at one point. I can't remember. It was pretty throwaway. He had one line where they cut to him for one line. And the way he delivered it was kind of in the realm of unintentionally funny. Do you know, did you get that at all from any of his lines? There was one where I almost laughed. But he just said it was just a normal line. But the way he said it, I think he asked a question. And the way he said it was just that was funny. I don't know.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
If anyone out there saw the movie and recognizes what I'm saying, let me know. Because I'd like to be proven that I'm not insane. Okay. I mean, we already talked about it a little bit, but I feel like we got to talk about the ending proper.
Yeah, I like it. I know a lot of people are pissed off at it, but I think it's good because I think one of the biggest issues that people had going into Joker 2019 was that the fact that they were finally revealing Joker's identity. But now it confirms that they never did that. I mean, but not that was intentional back then, because obviously they didn't know they were making this one. But I like, I think the guy cutting himself with the fucking blade at the end was a bit too much. Too on the nose. But I think in having this real Joker come through, that's much younger. That would be appropriate age for the rest of the cast, for Harvey Dent and the young Bruce Wayne and all that shit. I think that's cool. I think that's great. I think the fact that Arthur was never the Joker is kind of a better story than had he been, and I think it works. I think it works well for what the film is doing. I think people that are upset with the ending are probably those people that you're talking about that at the start about enjoys the first film. Be disappointed with this one because I think that ending is pretty strong. I agree. Probably, maybe I think the execution might be a bit off, but I think in terms of what it means for story and all that stuff, I think it's pretty strong.
Yeah, I do generally agree. When you said that about enjoyers of the first film not liking it, do you think those particular enjoyers though were ones that thought that Arthur Fleck it was his actual origin story and he actually becomes Bruce Wayne's Joker?
Well, he's too old to be Bruce Wayne's Joker.
That's the thing. I agree. So that's the thing where I liked this ending, but to me it didn't really say anything that the first film didn't say to me personally.
Yeah.
Maybe I had a different interpretation of it, but like I always interpreted the end of the first film and like when he's standing in the car and like all the other people have the Joker masks around him. Like I always interpreted that as okay, well he's not the Joker, he's not Bruce Wayne's Joker, but he's just inspired whoever that person ends up being. That's how I always read it.
Well, I kind of with the first one, I never thought that we were meant to have a Batman in that universe because I just thought it was meant to be. It was just a sort of
like
thing.
Bruce Wayne never becomes Batman.
No, because he gets killed by a clown, doesn't get like there's no, and he gets and like no, sorry, like the parents get killed by a clown in the rise. There's no guilt on Bruce's behalf. And there's no like the fear of a clown would come through, I guess, of a bat. I don't know. But I just took it as like because like we see Thomas and Martha die, obviously, but like I just took it as like we're never really meant to have a Batman, because the Batman story is a Joker story.
Oh, okay. No,
Whereas,
I think the idea very much is that you imagine that Batman exists later on in this world.
Yeah, you reckon?
I think so, and I think I agree it's a bit on the nose, but I think the idea of then that bloke who shanked Arthur and then cut up his face like is very much enforcing that.
Mm. Oh yeah, well with this one, I think it is meant to be with the first one.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the first, yeah.
With the first one, I don't think you ever really meant to think about a Batman, whereas with this one,
right.
I think there are good steps into thinking about this.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, I agree. It felt like, well, I don't know. Like, do you think him killing Arthur at the end and then being out of focus in the background like he is, but say he's not cutting up his face and he's sort of just laughing? Like, do you think that communicates it strongly enough?
I think it's still too strong if he's laughing.
Okay, yeah, all right, fair enough.
I think because the camera lingers on him the entire film, Arthur will move out of frame and the camera will hold on this guy in the background, like very intentionally, obviously. And it was to the point where like I was going to ask you guys, because the film was obviously ending, and like Arthur was walking, like as Arthur gets called to go see his visitor, like we hold on that guy again, and I was like, what's the fucking point of this guy? And I was getting ready to ask you guys after the movie, and I was like, what do you think about that bloke? And then obviously that's the bloke that comes and kills him. So I was like, oh okay, like the movie sets it up kind of well, and I think it's a good through line of this kind of like the kind of fanboys killing their idols and like the kind of real life kind of examples of that and kind of relation to that. So yeah, I really like the ending. But yeah, I think just the whole laughing and the cutting up the face is too obvious because like the film puts the work in beforehand in lingering. Like the one thing that it does put the work in for is lingering on this character so that you're aware of him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think they wanted to do the cutting up, the laughing, obviously, but I think they wanted to do the cutting up the face to really emphasize that this guy is, the next iteration of a Joker.
But is the cutting up of the face like is that even a Joker thing or is that a Heath Ledger Joker thing?
So that's the thing. That's the thing. It's a little bit weird about it, where it's like I'm pretty sure I'm not a comic expert. As far as I know, Heath Ledger's the only Joker where that's a thing. So it's because it's such a specific Heath thing. It's kind of an odd one to go with.
Yeah. Look, I think following that, I think there was kind of more mutilation in the Joker in the comics following that, because I think there's even an iteration of the Joker where his face is completely like sliced off and then sewn back on.
Oh my god!
And I think that like there is, like I think there are examples after that, but I think Heath's Joker was, if not the first, but like it's obviously like the most recognizable one. Yeah, so yeah, it just feels a bit strange with that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 100%. And it's and to the point where it's so specifically Heath, to the point where I'm kind of left like, are you like connecting this to the Nolanverse right now? Like, I know you're not, because obviously Harvey Dent makes no sense, but like, it kind of like puts that question in my mind a little bit. Where I'm like, wait, so is that actually meant to be Heath? Which I know it's not, but it's just sort of like I don't know if that's the question you want to be walking away with.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, yeah. That's an aspect of the ending.
Well, actually, Barry Keoghan's Joker is very scarred up as well.
Yeah, he is actually. Yeah. So maybe that was Barry Keoghan's dad or something.
Ah, they're connecting it to the Reeves verse.
Wow, there you go. That's wild, man.
And that's why he's in prison in the Reeves verse, not because he's already been out. but because he killed Joker and then fucked his face up. Oh my god.
Right, yeah.
Oh, dude, it makes sense.
Oh man, I don't think we have to worry about continuing this universe. I saw that Todd Phillips said he's done, which is
Yeah.
not surprising. I wouldn't have thought he. I thought he would have been done last time, so I wasn't expecting another one. This is oh my god, I was gonna say Harkeen. Like it sounds like a fucking Doom
Every time
name.
you say it, I just think of that like a Brian Cox interview where he's like picking on Joaquin for his like performance in Napoleon, and like he's talking about his name, and it's like he's like Joaquin, or like and he's like he's got the name for it or some shit like that. Like his wacky performance was like he's like Joaquin.
Just to be clear, that's not the actor Brian Cox. That's the other Brian Cox. That's the history or the fucking scientist, whatever.
No, the actor Brian Cox.
No. We did. I swear to God, we did this last time where we thought that, and then someone in the Discord corrected you that it was the other Brian Cox.
That interview is about the real Brian Cox. Is it like about like the actor Brian Cox? Is it not?
I'm pretty sure you were corrected on that in the Discord at the time. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be misremembering because I remember thinking like, oh, that's savage for the actor Brian Cox to say that, and then it ended up being not the actor Brian Cox.
No, it's the actor Brian Cox.
Is it really?
Brian Cox. Joaquin was truly terrible in Napoleon, and I would have played it a lot better. Yeah, Cox then mused about Phoenix's name. I think he's well named Joaquin, Wacky. It's a sort of wacky performance.
Well, I apologize for being incorrect, but that's fucking hilarious.
What's the scientist Brian Cox and me doing pointing out? Like,
I thought it made more sense because, like, if he's like, I don't know, on a podcast talking about history or something,
sure,
like he would be like, you know what I mean?
No.
Anyway, that's fucking savage, dude. Okay. Anyway, this is his first sequel in all his career.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I also heard that like part of the reason that this film's called Folie, Deux, is because like they wanted to give it a pretentious title basically for him to come back because like he was not going to come back to something called Joker 2 because that's not in his wheelhouse, you know. Well, like, let's make it sound cool or make it sound indie or whatever the fuck. He'll come back.
That's fun, actually.
Yeah.
They should bring him out for Gladiator 2.
Like Wacky Phoenix in both Joker films, Lady Gaga went full method acting for her performance. She insisted that cast and crew only call her Lee throughout filming.
Wow, there was no benefit to that at all.
No. Well, I mean, hey, maybe she would have been worse without it. I don't know. Not that she was bad. I don't think she was bad. I just didn't think, like, again, she didn't really add much to, in my opinion. Yeah. How you feeling? We get to Andy's review? What do you reckon?
Yeah, because that's a big one. So.
Oh yeah, fucking hell! All right, Andy wrote in his review for Folie, Deux. He said, "To my surprise, I respected the sequel more than the original, but there are reasons for this take that may not make sense. The problem I had with the original was that Todd Phillips made it too uninteresting and took itself too seriously for a film about a comic book character." See, by the way, so Andy's whole take here, like the crux of it, I don't want to like speak on his behalf, but like, I feel like the crux of it is built in like what's the word? Like a bias against comic books in general, like looking down on comic books.
Yeah,
which I'm not a hater of that, but I'm just I kind of am. But anyway, Jaden definitely is. However, I thought Phillips was really in his element with this sequel because its unintentional farce was something I didn't know I was looking for, but really digged. Prior to the awkward mental illness themes from the last film, Phillips taking it to a playful direction made the sequel shine, especially whenever Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga broke into song. I understand that mental health is not a joke, but getting into Joker's mind when something like this plays out offers something more unique than the entirety of the first one that tries to be all that it. That tries to be all that. Oh, that tries to be all that, but it's really not. A character study about a major DCU villain where he's characteristically known to have a flair for the dramatics and the presence for farce and chaos, felt the most appropriate when it's a hyper-genre between gritty drama, unorthodox romance, and an unsettling musical. While the overall sequel does so much to damage the reputation of the first Joker film that many audiences previously praised, Folie, Deux also strive to be more... Honestly, it's funny. You came up with that, right? The Folie, Deux? That's great.
No, I think people have been calling it that anyway.
Oh, okay. You stole it. I still think it's funny. Um, the film also strives to be more creative because I never really felt it with the first one. An ideal project which should have felt like this in the first place, ultimately leading the second one to be misunderstood by fans of the original. Enjoyable but not totally memorable. So a 6 out of 10. Okay, gotcha. And he didn't love it, but he feels it's misunderstood, which I appreciate. Thank you, Andy. 6 out of 10. Interesting.
Yeah, I do think this film's going to be reevaluated over time to be more positive, honestly.
Yeah, I think so too. Is it, you're seeing more of the negativity, I assume? Is it like, does it
I haven't
feel
even
like
seen too much of it.
Oh, you really haven't? I was going to ask if it feels like where it feels like it's coming from. Does it feel like it's coming from like not exactly the same thing, but like does it feel like it's coming from like that social media toxicity we were talking about last week, or is it coming from again this misunderstanding of the first one, or because it does seem too negative, and I feel like there has to be a reason for it.
I don't know. I haven't really seen enough of it to speak onto it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Because I think the critics were pretty harsh on it too, you know. So, oh no.
Yeah. Just with Andy's comic book hate made me think of other like great comic products, and it kind of got me thinking about the Watchmen TV series. And like, I think that's probably a great way of adapting IP in an unconventional way that the Joker tries to do. You know, in taking characters, inspiration, and a world, but then fails at it. Whereas like the Watchmen TV show, which we've spoken about many times, is fantastic in taking certain characters, certain names, and certain events, but then completely putting it in something completely different. So yeah,
it's an interesting comparison. Yeah, I know that. I mean, that show oozes of creativity. Where, it's interesting. Yeah, it's kind of hard to compare to this.
I just in terms of the precedent of taking IPs and then adapting them into something very different is
DC IP. Yeah,
Watchmen's not DC, isn't it? It's like like it's DC, but it's like
it's not in the DC universe.
Yeah, it's like their branch of like
they publish it.
Yeah,
it's there. Okay, final verdicts for Joker, Folie, Deux. I was all this. Oh man, this is tough. I think walking out, I was a 6. I think this review's done a good job of illustrating how torn I am in terms of the themes and stuff. There's a lot of things I don't feel like it does very well. There are elements I like though. Man, I'll give it a 6. Fuck it.
Okay.
Jaden.
I'll put a 5 on it. Which is
yeah.
I recently I rewatched Joker prior to this, and I bumped it up from a 4 to a 5. So they're the same.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I could have gone for. I was tossing up between that or a 5. Yeah.
I think the fact that I was bored, like, is probably why it's a 5. Because I think,
True.
Because I think I did speak about it somewhat positive during the review, but I was bored. Like with Inside Out too.
You were fascinated looking up there at the corner of the frame, the prison lights or whatever the hell it was. Now it's time for our highlights of the week. Yeah,
sure.
What have you been watching?
I watched this. Dude, I watched quite a few like great things and quite a few like average things. I don't want to talk about though. I want to talk about Oddity. Oddity is this 2024 horror film that's on Shudder. It is, I don't know, probably the best horror of the year in terms of like, I don't know if it's the best product of the year, but in terms of like horror, like the horror elements of it, it clears pretty much everything else I've seen so far this year. It's more mystery. I mean, not more. It's a horror mystery, and you're kind of following this this psychic woman who's trying to get revenge for her sister's murder. Which in itself is an interesting premise, but then like what they do with it is not what I was expecting. I was expecting something kind of far more fantastical, but it's still good. It's like obviously like fantasy and psychic elements because she has like the touch and all that stuff. But it is really brilliantly kind of subdued, and it has some really fantastic kind of really really scary things happen, and like really effective in the way it uses its location and its props as well. Just great performances all around as well. I think everyone should try and watch it, which is a hard thing since it's on Shudder, which is a service that not many people have. But yeah, I think Oddity is probably one of the strongest films of the year.
I assume I can't ask you how you watched it.
No, I watched it on Shudder.
Really?
Yeah, I have Shudder.
Oh, is Shudder good?
If you like horror movies, then yeah.
Yeah, but you get value from it.
I probably don't use it enough, but like, there's plenty of movies on there for me to watch.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, if I say the service,
yeah,
you can ask where I watched it. If I don't say the service,
yeah. I was wondering, like, if you were more saying it as like a point of like reference for like its production values or something, but then you didn't actually watch it there. You know. What I mean? Yeah. Okay. Right. No, that's cool. That's cool. I'm glad. I actually had a fair bit to choose this week, but I'll go with Defending Jacob, which is this Apple show we wrapped up, and to Jane's dismay, like, I basically just keep watching Apple show after Apple show, Yeah, so we watched this after Presumed Innocent because it was kind of recommended. It's kind of it's a similar-ish thing where it's like a murder and then a court case, that kind of thing. Also based on a book. I thought the show was strong. Throughout, I don't like it as much as Presumed Innocence overall. It came out in 2020. It's got Chris Evans as the dad. Jaden Martell is Jacob, the little twerp 14-year-old guy who gets accused of murder. Michelle Dockery is the wife. You might know her from The Gentleman and Downton Abbey, potentially. So yeah, no, they were all great. Throughout, I didn't think it was as strong as Presumed Innocent script-wise in terms of just some, just some little, some little logic things for me and some script things for me. It was just kind of like, I don't know if this is doing as good of a job as... I was directly comparing it to the last one we just watched. That was kind of similar. So, but then by the time we got to the court case, it was, get into a courtroom. If that's well done, I'm pretty into it. And the whole last episode, though, was phenomenal. Like, that really sold it for me. Like, I was like in 7 territory, like enjoying it. And then the last episode pushed me to an 8 because I just thought it was really, really well done, with how it totally sort of changes the complexion of the story. And, like, it flashes forward earlier, so there's something that's going to come later that's going to sort of change what the show ends up being, kind of. And then that does happen, and I just thought it was really, really well done. And the show ends up really ultimately, without spoiling it, really, but I just thought the themes were really, really interesting in terms of the show ends up really being about, like, the family dynamic and particularly the parent-child dynamic of what it's like to have a kid accused of a murder and all the implications of that in terms of, do you believe them? Who says that they're, claims innocence? Do you believe them? Do you still love them? And all that kind of shit. And like, yeah, so there's a lot going on there. And like, can you continue to function with them normally? And there's the last episode deals with that really, really well and leaves it really in a really compelling place. So I thought really interesting theme. It executes it really well in the end. So I was a fan of the show for sure. I'd recommend it.
If I went to jail, would you visit me?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
Well, good question, actually. Because, like, would it depend on what you did? It would have to. Or would I unconditionally visit you, is what you're asking?
Sure. I mean, if I killed 3 people, would you come see me?
If you killed 3 people? Wow. I feel like I would. And I'm not committing to a timeline. Like, I feel like at some point I would.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. What does that make you feel?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I reckon at some point I would. I really do.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know what it would be like, but pretty wild, probably.
Mm.
That's it? Oh,
I
yeah,
did
great.
mine. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Well done. Okay, now comes the segment where we hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, what is the best portrayal of mental illness in cinema?
Do we ask
Leanne?
portrayal?
I actually wrote exploration is
Okay.
the word I used. Were you trying to correct me?
Well, yeah, I was because I'm like, because like if it's portrayal, then like my answer doesn't stand.
Oh, okay, all right. No, fair enough. Good correction. Best exploration of mental illness in cinema. I was saying it off the top of my head, and then I checked the Discord as I said it, and got the one word wrong, and then just wasn't going to say anything. But thanks. Leanne said, the first movie that comes to mind about mental illness or mental health is the 1975 classic One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, starring Jack Nicholson. Do you know his real name is John? Excuse me.
John.
His real name is John Nicholson.
Okay.
How does that make you feel?
No different.
All right. However, I would argue that the best exploration of mental health in cinema was depicted in A Beautiful Mind. Russell Crowe's performance as mathematician and Nobel Prize. I don't know. Leanne wrote a word here. I don't know what.
Laureate.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I don't know. I've always heard it in adjacent to Nobel, but I've never actually questioned what it means. Either winner or nominated, or like I guess.
I don't know what that word means, Leah. Thank you for Jane's going to teach me in a minute. John Nash is probably one of his best. The film grossed over $300 million and won 4 Academy Awards. Another film which explores the topic of mental health well is Silver Linings Playbook, starring Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence. Have you got something for me on Laureate?
Yeah, just honoured with an award.
Oh, okay. Interesting. That's a good one for the vocab. Silver Linings Playbook. Keen observers may have noticed that the emphasis here is on mental health as opposed to mental illness. It is much the same as talking about an impairment instead of a disability. The emphasis is on the positive instead of the negative. That's all for this week's contribution from Dr. Leanne. Thank you, Leanne. Keep up the great reviews, Cinema Effect team. That's good. We got Dr. Luke and Dr. Leanne now. Let's go. That's good. Yeah. Okay, there's a fair bit to unpack there. I saw Silver Linings Playbook come up a fair few times when people were talking about it. That's what. So I think Bradley Cooper is bipolar in that one. I think is what it is.
Yeah, I think so.
If I recall, yeah, that's interesting.
Borderline. Hold on, the Wikipedia list had it. Okay.
But does Jennifer Lawrence have something in that too?
Maybe, but like he was like the focus though. Like his disorder was the focus.
Yeah. I thought there was something weird with her. I can't remember. It probably sounds rude.
No, sorry, no. So borderline personality disorder is for Jen's character.
Yes. Oh, so Bradley Cooper had nothing? Bradley Cooper had something, didn't he?
I thought he had maybe anger or something like that, right?
Anger. Yeah.
Maybe antisocial. He had like anger management things, didn't he?
Does that count? By the way, warning that like any potential take I have of what counts and what doesn't could be totally politically incorrect. Just as a heads up, I've got no idea. I'm down to be educated on this.
Because this is that he has bipolar as well.
He has bipolar as well. Okay. There you go. Speaking of doctors, Dr. Luke said, watching The Detectives, which is a movie that I'd never heard of in my life. So I looked it up. Have you heard of this? It's got Cillian Murphy and Lucy Liu. Okay. Yeah. What a weird combination of cast right there. I just have never envisioned.
Well, I know that Liam and Andy have both seen it. I think one of them hates it and one of them's fine on it. And I thought that's why the speaker was putting it in, because like he was like antagonizing. Like,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to judge. The movie kind of looks bad, but by the poster, you know. Andy Lau says, not the best, but my favourite exploration of mental illness might be M. Night Shyamalan's Split. Hopefully I didn't steal anyone's answer. Well, yeah. 20-something personalities, there's definitely something going on with Kevin. Plus, to turn it up into a creepy thriller officially makes it feel like a complete filmic experience, especially when it's in the hands of a misunderstood master in M. Night. I hope to rewatch it beforehand because I might appreciate it more, but I have now just found out the film's been criticised for the depictions of its mental illness. However, I choose Split as it was the first noticeable thing that came on the top of my head. Hey, I'm sure it's been criticised. That doesn't surprise me at all, but it's still a good movie, so.
Well, it's because you're depicting like someone with a mental disorder as a monster, so like that's why it's getting criticized. But like,
But I'm sure plenty of people are.
Yeah.
I'm sure plenty of people with mental disorders are monsters.
Yeah,
and I'm sure it's a relatively similar percentage of people, normal people. Again.
Whoa.
See here again. Warning that I'm going to be cancelled for all this, but I'm sure it's a very similar percentage. I'm sure people with mental illnesses and are monsters. Just like what was the word you used?
Neurotypical.
Neurotypical people are also monsters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my word of wisdom for the day. Liam said, the best exploration of mental illness in cinema is Quinn, starring Damian Lewis.
I think
it's about Kane. A guy. Oh, fuck, Kane?
Well, because I know the soccer player Moise Kean, and Kane spelled like that.
No, you're probably right.
And I think like the band Kane as well is spelled like Kane. So
yeah,
I say Kane, not Kien, mate.
Thank you.
Up to you.
Thank you. And then Liam would criticize me next week, so thank you for correcting me. It's about a guy who lost his daughter in the past and repeats all the moments before losing her in his mind. Whether or not what happened was real isn't answered definitively, but we're shown a sobering portrayal of mental illness either way. Sometimes you're fully immersed in Keen's mind, and then he'll do something questionable or odd, and you'll suddenly feel the distance between him and yourself and be reminded of the distance between a mentally ill and a stable individual. So he used the word stable. Is that allowed?
Yeah.
He can say stable, I can't say normal?
Yeah, because stable doesn't imply normal. But I mean, it implies normal, but stable doesn't have to be neurotypical. You can be stably bipolar.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Sort of. Shout out also to Two Lovers, starring Joker Man and Gwyneth Paltrow, where a suicidal Joker Man develops an obsession with an equally mentally ill woman, kind of like Folie. I'm not sure though because I haven't seen it. Yeah, it is kind of true. What ensues is a tale of desperation, heartache, and loneliness set in the concrete jungle of New York. Unrequited love really is the worst mental illness.
Do you say that unrequited?
Dude, I've never seen that fucking word in my life. I'm learning new words in these answers.
Yeah, actually, I think I've only ever read it. I don't like unrequited. I'd always say
unrequited.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I've never heard it said out loud.
You could say unrequited.
Unrequited.
Unrequited?
No, I was right. Unrequited.
Unrequited?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is quiet. It is. Yeah, it's definitely quiet in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? Like unconditional?
Unrequited love.
Unconditional? No.
Maybe.
Absolute. Wow, I'm learning so much today. It's wild. Help me, Jaden.
Not returned.
Not returned. Oh, not reciprocated.
Yeah. Unrequited love, as in she doesn't feel the same way about you, mate.
Got it. Okay. No, that's interesting. I like the sound of that. Okay. Wow, man. Goddamn. Liam's teaching me words. It's wild. Okay. What are our answers, Jaden?
Harry Potter. Learn to love good.
I don't know.
I'm just taking the piss.
Yeah.
I just thought something that would annoy.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think about this question during the week, which is which is my bad. So I was kind of pulled up a list before the show. Is a stutter a mental disorder? Because I feel like if it is, then I have to pick that one by default because Spooky will say that it's like me.
Is it a mental thing? I guess.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. You go to speech therapy, but it's tricky. I don't know.
Yeah. Actually, I really don't know. Eternal Sunshine's great, but I don't know. Maybe Little Miss Sunshine's great, but I don't is it great because of its mental side of it? It's
right. Right.
know.
I also I'm in the same boat where I struggled.
Yeah,
I didn't feel like there were a lot of
where are you
standout.
at though? Yeah.
So yeah, there were a lot of I know Leanne probably thought it already came up with the best ones. I reckon.
Well, yeah,
And
I
then
haven't seen One Floor Over the Cuckoo's Nest, so like,
I haven't seen it either.
yeah.
I know, like that's probably a very common one, but Silver Linings Playbook, yeah, that's good. And yeah. Other than that, it's I don't know. I guess it sort of revealed to me that there's not a lot of portrayals I love. Like I really like the movie I Am Sam with what's his face, Simon. Oh my god, what's his name?
Um,
Oh, shit,
Sean.
bloody Sean Penn. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would assume, I don't know, I would assume that would not stand the test today because he's like playing a fully dippy person. Can I say that word? Yeah, I don't know.
I've never even heard that one.
It's like, I don't know, it's like Rain Man-esque or it's like a normal, again, everyone please just ignore my vocabulary. It's like Rain Man where it's a normal dude playing a dippy dude, right? That's how I put it.
Well, that's even worse when you put them together.
I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I
God.
apologize in advance. I don't mean any disrespect at all. I'm just ignorant. So anyway, so I feel like those don't really stand the test of political correctness now today. I could be wrong, but like I personally like I think that was decent. I enjoyed that. One that I only thought of when I was googling around, it came up a few times. So there's a character. I don't think anyone's seen Ozark, so I'll make this quick. But there's a character in Ozark who's Wendy's brother Ben, who's got bipolar, and that is I've never seen bipolar portrayed like it, and everyone was saying how accurate it is, and I was like, the fact I've never seen it portrayed quite like that, and the performance, and everyone saying it's accurate makes me think it must be a standout in the realm. So shout out to that, I guess. I also thought of this is actually an interesting one for Liam and Dr. Luke for Better Call Saul and Chuck. Is an interesting case where you sort of look it up. I can't remember what he thinks the whole thing with Chuck. No spoilers, Jaden. But like he thinks he's allergic to electricity. Is his whole thing.
Mm.
So like he sits in the house by himself. He wraps himself in foil and all that kind of shit. But like it ends up being proven it's in his head. It's not real. It's not. So like he thinks he has some. It's like he thinks it's a physical condition, but it's a mental condition. So, which I looked up, and that apparently would be somatic symptom disorder, which is interesting. I know that was just a very specific example that I thought was interesting. I've never seen anything like it, so I liked it for that. Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, I was saying something really funny, but it'd be bad, so I can't.
Mate, no, you can't. You're not going to leave me hanging with what I've said so far.
No, I'll tell you what I thought of afterwards, but it's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Dude, like, yeah, I don't know. Split, fuck it. I guess. Dude, I don't know why this is causing me so much fucking stress.
Have you seen Rain Man?
No.
Okay, all right.
But I have seen What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which is another neurotypical dude playing a man with a mental disorder. So
I'm not going to do it on the air, but I just want Luke to know that I'm in my head doing the Gilbert voice. The Arnie voice saying Gilbert is what I mean.
I'll leave it at Eternal Sunshine because that was pretty good.
That's a quality answer. Yeah. That's good. No one else said it. Yeah. That's good. That's fine. I get what you mean when you thought of Little Miss Sunshine though, because there's plenty of films where it's like it's present, but it's like it's not really entirely the focus of the movie, nor is it really the best portrayal you've ever seen. So you kind of need to be one or the other.
And like with Little Miss Sunshine, like I think like it's been very like I watched that movie when I was very young. So like it's been a long time since I've seen it like alone. It's like the main thing I think of is the kid finding out is colorblind, really. Beyond like I didn't even remember that Steve Carell's character tried to kill himself. So like
I forgot. Yeah.
Like it
doesn't feel like the most memorable parts of the movie, really.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, I don't know, but yeah.
At least to me, yeah.
Or even the grandfather or the grandmother that they die or something like that, don't they? And they carry him in like the trunk.
Yeah, isn't that Alan Arkin? I think it is.
Is it? I don't know.
Is that Alan Arkin in that?
Isn't it the other old bloke?
The other old bloke.
Isn't
I
it?
think it's. I thought it was Alan. Oh shit! Maybe it's not. Oh my god!
Um,
I feel so bad. Who is it in Little Miss Sunshine? The old guy. It's definitely someone.
oh yeah, it's Arkin. Okay, yeah,
Is Alan Arkin? Oh
yeah.
great.
Mm.
He actually passed recently. That's sad.
Oh, did he?
I think he was one of the other ones I killed. I'm pretty sure. Like when I killed Donald Sutherland, as you know,
How'd you do that?
because I looked up his age like 2 days before he died.
Oh,
And Alan Arkin, I think I can't remember. I texted my dad about him. I think like a week before he died. It was something like that. Yeah, he was another one where I killed him. Sorry about that. Anyway,
89.
yeah, he's great though.
Mm.
Okay. As always, we'd love you to submit your responses, thoughts, and or reviews for next week's film in the YouTube or Instagram comment section, or join the Discord server. This week, the specific question we'll be asking you is, who is the quintessential Martin Scorsese actor? Let us know. In our head, we were kind of like, should we literally frame the question as being it's literally just De Niro versus DiCaprio and you have to make a case for one of them? Which I think is probably still largely what it might end up being. But we wanted to leave it open as well, Jaden's idea, to allow for some other options if you can make another argument. But can you? Can you really? You're choosing between one of the D's out there, De Niro, DiCaprio, All right. That's it for this week's episode. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Jaden, what are we doing next week?
Next week we're doing Infernal Affairs Part 2.
Oh yeah, dude.
It's on Foxtel and Binge and Netflix.
Yeah, I was gonna say Netflix.
Yeah, nice. The subtitle of Infernal Affairs Part 2 is The Departed. Yeah. So get behind it.
Nice. How many times have you seen The Departed?
Once.
Same here. Nice.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to rewatch it for sure. I always thought before I ever watched it, it was just one of those ones that came up on my Netflix. As you know, Jack Nicholson, DiCaprio had my attention, and then I had no idea what it was other than the title. I always thought it was like a sci-fi thing, or like it's alluding to like the dead or something.
Sure.
Like knowing nothing about it, that's what I thought it was. And then I watched it as a crime drama. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I've had this movie spoiled for me since I was a very young age. Once again, thanks to Watch Mojo, because I watched a top 10 foreshadowing video, and it's like, oh, did you know there's an X behind the characters that are going to die? And
wow.
it's like, oh, Matt Damon has an X behind him, and then he dies. I'm like, oh, cool. And then later I watched the part. I'm like, oh, he's going to die. Not Matt Damon, the other guy. Yeah.
Damn. Well, hopefully you don't still watch Mojo, and then you won't have that problem. Do they still make those videos? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they still do.
Pump them out.
Mm.
Okay, all right.
They used to do like 6 a day, man. 6 a fucking day.
That's ridiculous. That's wild. Anyway, I appreciate you for joining me, Jaden. As always, have a great rest of your week, everyone, and goodbye.